Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so just finishing this chapter then. I have a few paragraphs left. So Anavangalataka, you can begin. You can finish this chapter. It's just one more page.
From where the guru disciple?
Yeah, if you go from there.
Okay. The guru disciple relationship is eternal. If both maintain their pure positions and are bona fide, their eternal relationship is never jeopardized. However, if the spiritual master is later exposed as perfidious, the disciple must immediately repudiate him.
That means deceitful and untrustworthy.
Okay.
That word.
Yeah. The same is to be done by the spiritual master if the disciple is similarly exposed. If the repudiation is not carried out by both parties when it is necessary, then they stand to be doomed.
We'll just stop there. Let me just look at this word repudiation. To be rejected. Yeah. I know some spiritual masters take that stand. If their disciple is not chanting and not following the principles, and they have no specific desire or they have no specific plan to come to the right standard again, then the guru, to save him accumulating karma for the wrongdoing of his disciple, he will nullify that relationship. He will cut that relationship. And my spiritual master did that one time. He asked one disciple that he asked one wayward disciple that he should bring his initiation beads back and give them to him. So he was cutting that. And what happened? The disciple decided to clean up his act again. It was too much. Wow. But I know my Guru Maharaj has other disciples who have gone really off the rails. I think it's perhaps not only him, but other spiritual masters have disciples like that. And he does that. He kind of formally steps back as being their guru at some point. It depends on the specific situation, but just for your interest. So here it is in scripture that it can be done.
Yeah. That's interesting because usually they say, oh, the spiritual master will even come back in another life to deliver his disciples, but only ones who are sincere.
Yeah, that's it. Those who want to be, those who have a grain of desire. I mean, to fall down, okay, people fall down, but the idea, if people fall down, then there should be some type of regret, some type of desire to correct oneself, some type of admission of being weak, some type of repentance. But sometimes someone may not have any at all. They may be have no intention, and they become quite disrespectful to the guru, to the not only the guru but to the Krishna consciousness as a whole,
Yeah.
So that's when a spiritual master may formally, you could say, reject or turn away. Of course, if that disciple again at some point in the future does repent and does reflect and does come back in a humble state of mind, then of course the guru will be lovingly accept him again.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
You can continue. Yeah. Can continue.
One who disrespects the bona fide pure Vaishnava spiritual master is a reprobate and fit to be shunned by all. It is advisable, therefore, that before accepting a spiritual master, one should carefully choose the right person. The spiritual master must be a pure devotee of the Lord. The scriptures recommend that both the spiritual master and the disciple place each other under strict scrutiny before mutual acceptance. This precludes the Kula Guru or traditional family guru, Of course, if the Kula Guru is qualified, it is of immediate convenience to accept him. But in the case that he is not saintly, a pure devotee should be searched out and taken as the spiritual master. Since even ordinary household items are tested before acquisition, it is only an unfortunate fool who will fail to go through a testing period in the selection of his true spiritual master, who is the best friend of the living entities. The unqualified Kula Guru should be offered due respect and devotion, and after begging permission to leave him, a person must seek a qualified spiritual master. The point is that one must not bring upon himself the calamity of having to reject his spiritual master. If one is prudent, he can avoid such a situation. One must watchfully avoid committing any offenses against a pure devotee guru. This is disastrous and will ruin both men and demigods alike.
Okay, so just
Yeah.
everyone's clear on that. What that means. We have that. We have in our society we have like an aspiring disciple status, yeah, where one can be accepted as an aspiring disciple, and they act as if they are a disciple, and the guru treats them as they're a disciple. So sometimes the disciple may change their mind, and it's not considered an offense at all. It's not if someone, slightly different context what I'm speaking about, but just this principle of testing. It's we have to understand it with intelligence as well, because it's not as if you're trying to find fault. It's not that mentality. You just and it's very nicely explained here that where is it? Where is it here? Wait a minute, we just read that paragraph. Must be here.
Yeah. Is it the scriptures recommend that both the spiritual master and the disciple place each other under strict scrutiny?
Yeah, but just the example, very practical example, since even ordinary household items are tested before acquisition. All right. So if you're going to buy something, you want to test it. Like one time.
You look at the reviews and you see
Yeah.
what people are saying about it.
Yeah, that's it. So we have to be a little bit intelligent. We shouldn't be so what's the word? We shouldn't be so naive and think, oh, like for instance, yeah, whoever's a guru, I let well, it's of course we have the guru disciple course now, so devotees are educated in these principles. Yeah. Also, it may be, it may be for other reasons as well. Okay, so the gurus in ISKCON, generally if they're gurus, they're generally following the principles, of course. Hope that should be understood. Otherwise they wouldn't be acting as gurus. But there again, there may be also, every guru has his specific mood, every guru has a specific personality, every guru may focus on a certain aspect of the mission, every guru expects certain things from his or her, or his, you could say her today, his or her disciples. So the disciple should be comfortable with the decision that they're inspired by, that they can happily serve this guru, and they're happy to hear his representation of Krishna consciousness. Now, something may override that. If the attraction to the guru is very profound and very deep, then they will want to take initiation regardless. And they will adjust themselves towards the presentation of that guru. They have such great faith in that guru that really, whatever is his mission becomes my mission. Whatever his presentation of Krishna consciousness is perfect, because one is so inspired to take shelter. So that's often more the case. So interesting, different considerations. Yeah.
Yeah. Never disrespect the articles used by the spiritual master. For instance, his seat, bed, shoes, vehicle, footstool, bath, water, etc. Stepping on his shadow, worshipping another person in his presence, giving initiation while he is still alive, trying to impress others with one's spiritual knowledge in his presence, and trying to control him are to be totally rejected. Whenever and wherever one sees a spiritual master, he should offer his prostrated obeisances to him with prayers. The Guru's name must be uttered with great reverence. His orders are never to be disobeyed. Always be eager to honor his remnants, and do not say anything that is displeasing to him. Fall humbly at his feet and beg shelter from him, and in this way act to please him. Simply by behaving thusly, one can easily develop a taste for chanting, which in turn offers all perfection. This is confirmed in the Vedas.
Okay, perhaps we'll just stop at each paragraph. It's very interesting. So here's some basic, not basics, some very important points of how to behave in regards to the spiritual master. What's the etiquette here? Yeah. Any questions about that?
Yeah, giving initiation while he is still alive. I mean, we have an example of Kadambakana Swami, whose spiritual master is still alive.
Yeah. Also, we have my Guru Maharaj is just giving blessings to one of his devotees in Turkey to act as a Diksha Guru. Yeah, so that's the general principle, unless the spiritual master gives permission.
Okay.
Yeah, if the spiritual master, and there's a move in ISKCON, because ISKCON has a problem, is that there's not enough spiritual masters. And if the amount of devotees who are taking shelter of ISKCON, it means something like each spiritual master has to have like 30,000 disciples. So it's becoming unpractical. So the GBC are putting motions forward where it's more easy and more quickly for gurus to empower their disciples to also accept disciples. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is cases, I think, who's Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu Maharaj, that's a classic case, where he has many hundreds of people aspiring to take initiation from him. But his disciple is still with us. His guru, which is Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So,
oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was ready to take disciples with permissions from his guru, but then he had a health crisis, so he didn't do that. But it's quite a topic on the GBC level. But answer to your question, yeah, that's the general rule. But if the guru gives his blessings, then it can be done. But it should never be done if he doesn't. You can imagine that's an offense. Generally, you bring aspirants to your guru. It's the general etiquette in the classic sense of the term. Right?
Prabhu, I just thought of mentioning Chaitanya Charan Prabhu in Russia.
Yeah, he's a disciple of who?
His Holiness Jopataka Maharaj.
There you go. There's an example there. And we have a few examples in ISKCON Society actually. Also, who's the other guru initiating in Russia?
Kadambakana Maharaj.
Yeah, also that's another example. He's disciple of Jayadvaita Maharaj.
Yes.
And Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj is a disciple of Radhanath Swami Maharaj.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. There's some modern day examples. Yeah.
So are they going to make it easier to be a guru, seeing as they see they need more gurus? Are they going to make the process like easier, or?
Yeah, that's what I just said. That was Boghosh put something on Dandavats. He did a little video explaining the GBC discussion and the outcome. Yeah. So, for instance, you may see Bhakti Vikash Maharaj, your Pacific spiritual master, empowering some of his disciples to actually do that. And it's not mandatory, but so they don't have to do it if they don't feel it's right for the disciple for various reasons.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
He who offends the Namaguru or the spiritual master who initiates one into the chanting of the holy name of the Lord falls into sinful company and adopts the viewpoint of unauthorized sacrilegious scriptures. The Namaguru teaches scriptural conclusions and reveals the esoteric nature of the holy name. He initiates the disciple into the mantra of the holy name. The Diksha Guru will generally be the Namaguru, and the Diksha mantra is usually the holy name. The mantra loses its meaning and purpose if it is separated from the holy name. Simply by uttering the holy name of the Lord, the mantra is automatically chanted.
Yeah, any questions about that? I can. If not, we can read on in Diksha Guru. So.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the mantra is the holy name. So how can it be separated from the holy name?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I asked the question, because I didn't quite understand that as well. Let me just read it. The Diksha Guru would generally be the Nam Guru. Yeah, let me read it. Now, Diksha generally is taken in term, generally Diksha is understood to be the Gayatri mantras, and Nam Guru is the holy name. Yeah. So the person who, so the one, yeah, so the Guru who gives Maha Mantra will generally give also the Diksha Gayatri mantras. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Diksha mantra is actually the, but here it says the Diksha mantra is actually the holy.
The Diksha mantra is not the Maha mantra.
Yeah, Diksha mantras are Gayatri mantras.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, you can carry on, yeah.
Yeah. The only way to be pardoned of this offense is to forsake sinful company, cast away the unauthorized scriptures, and throw oneself at the spiritual master's lotus feet, repenting piteously. The spiritual master is a compassionate Vaishnava. Due to his merciful nature, he'll surely be forgiven. And there's a note, the wretched author of Harinam Chintamani, am a sinner. I, the wretched author of Harinam Chintamani, am a sinner. My hope of redemption is the dust of the lotus feet of Haridas Thakur.
Right, so this must be Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing. So it's
Yeah.
Thakur. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I have one godbrother of mine many years ago. He was renowned as the most enthusiastic, fired up, and wonderful example of a disciple. He would travel with my Guru Maharaj, and they would distribute books together in Ireland, and he was quite a well-known devotee in the UK. And somewhere down along the line, he became a Ritvik. And not only did he become a Ritvik, but I won't give you the whole gory detail, but basically he threatened the lives of devotees. Yeah, he went quite mad and insane and was proposing to kill his guru. So
Wow.
that's how far away he went. He was eventually locked up. He had to be locked up in prison. There was child stuff there he was doing. There was drugs. He went right. I mean, he became.
Yeah. And that's probably just due to offenses he was making.
Yeah, that was Steve Francis. One letter. I don't know if you might know of him, Lavangalataka. You might have been around some of that time, perhaps not. But eventually he came to his senses to some degree. I mean, he's on medication now, and he will never be the same person. He's going to have to drop that body to, he's going to have to, in this life, he's not going to completely recover. But he did come back again, and my Guru Maharaj accepted him back in that sense. Yeah, he came. I was there one day when he came into the temple. My Guru Maharaj was in the temple president's office there, and he came in and he fell at his feet with tears in his eyes. And so this is just a disciple who's been threatening to kill him, trying to kill his guru. But the spiritual masters are very kind. So there's it. I have personal, yeah. It was a big disturbance to everyone in Yatra, actually. Anyway, so there you go. So the spiritual master, so having, despite how far the disciple goes, of course, I guess there might be limits. I don't know.
Do these people, like, how can you be committing offenses and not actually be aware of it? Or how would you guard against?
Well, it's just, I guess, where you become completely captured, your intelligence becomes overwhelmed, and somehow or another you feel justification by the intrigues of Maya. You feel justification for your evil or wrongdoings.
There must be many stages before you get to that stage. There must be many stages where you get a chance to rectify and you don't take it, or
exactly. So so one thing will lead to another, from like subtle to gross. But that's where it ends up. When one loses one's intelligence. And to this example, he became absolutely, I could say, insane as a result of his offenses. So at some point he made a wrong step and made a wrong offense and didn't make an amends for that, and one thing led to another. Quite a dramatic example. All right.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Nitai Mata.
I wanted to ask this, Prabhu, is that could be a reason that we don't pray to the Lord to protect you always, and because you think, okay, I'm the God now, I'm the captain, I know everything, I go on, I know everything, I don't need to take any shelter. So I was thinking possibly that could be a reason. Srila Prabhupada said when you're falling down and praying, he said, oh, please protect me from Maya. So we should be always praying. Otherwise, when we pray, our situation is humble, and so automatically Lord is the most compassionate and he would protect us. But if you don't do that prayer, I think we will fall into this trap.
Yeah, this was mentioned yesterday as well, about the principle of leading a prayerful life. We were speaking, So so there is danger. There is danger even on the royal road,
Every step.
And a little deviation, like if a boat's going a certain course and it deviates a little bit, by the time it can go right off the course. So we have to be careful that we don't slip, we have to be, and he said, right, we have to be prayerful that we are correctly situated, and we are not fooling ourselves. So that's why it's good to have these studies that we're doing. We can make sure we're in line and online, and we're going in the right direction, because Maya is very insidious. So we have to be very attentive, But the example was given: in like a needle and out like a plow. It may be it seemed like very like, for instance, Judd Burra. I mean, his fall down is a classic fall down. Not Judd Burra. Let's go back a life. Maharaj Bharat. So it started off, his whole fall down started off quite externally, quite innocently. He felt compassion for a deer, So that was the first step of his deviation eventually, So we have to be careful. You have to be careful, All right.
I would like to share something.
Yes, please.
I was a temp and working in a psychiatric hospital. And we had a case of a devotee trying to kill his spiritual master, not Shiva Maharaj. This was another one. And yeah, and he tried to stab him and everything, but obviously he was.
Is some guru or in the,
I don't know. It said Krishna Das, and
oh wow, so it's been, okay.
yes, and that at that time, and he was very aggressive on the ward. He was kept in an isolation, but there was a mental issue because he was saying, I mean, I was reading his history, and he was saying that the guru is controlling him so much after him really serving him nicely and everything, and now he just flipped. So obviously there was some mental issue. So he became schizophrenic eventually.
This
And,
is regard to Krishna Das Maharaj, yeah?
no, not our Krishna Das Swami.
Oh.
But the name only was given as Krishna Das. He was only saying Krishna Das, you know, and that was his spiritual master. And I came home, I wasn't a disciple at the time. And I phoned my brother and I said, is he trying to kill Maharaj? And he said, no, this is another person. So somebody, they knew about this person. I don't know who he was or anything.
Yeah. So
eventually I left the hospital, but
so yes, so it's not so uncommon. Is that a question you're bringing up there? You're just sharing.
I'm just saying that this might be a mental issue. Sometimes
I see.
it just triggers them that they are not controlled, they are being controlled and they don't want to be controlled. And that's when it builds up. And that was the mental issue. And he was put on all these drugs as well.
Yeah, medication.
Yeah, so I was speaking to the psychiatrist at the time and I said, why put him on drugs? Maybe he needs more good counseling. And he said, we can't. We have to isolate him as well because he was danger to the staff nurses and everything.
Yeah.
So it depends how they were born is what I was told, that with their mental aggression. And they also carry this from past lives. That's we were doing the history and how he was in the past life, he's carried it in this life.
Yeah.
So it was amazing, really.
Yeah, so sometimes it might be that it might be someone's going through a, dare we say, they're under a bad planetary influence, where there's death, there's madness, and they may not have the spiritual power to overcome that. Yeah, and it's not so uncommon actually. If you speak to, well, you might not ask Diksha Gurus this, but it's not an uncommon thing Diksha Gurus have to experience of disciples who turn against them. Yeah, men and women, disciples who turn against them and start writing blogs and anti-campaigns against them. It's not uncommon, unfortunately. This is welcome to Kali Yuga. Hare Krishna. All right, let's try and get a bit, well, this is offensive, so let's get a bit more positive, but yeah, let's go into the next chapter, shall we? Criticizing Vedic scriptures.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Nimamata, yeah.
What is the destination of this type of disciples?
I would say downwards.
Yeah, Prabhu. Yeah, downwards is it's a very general word, Prabhu. But oh my God, after traveling and putting yourself in Krishna consciousness after so many lifetimes, and if this happens, so my Lord, it's better not to be a devotee, I think, so that at least they can come.
It's just tragic. It's a tragedy, and it's tragic. But here we are. These tragedies go on in the material world. I mean, that is what the material world is about. Unfortunately, it's about tragedies and disappointments. Yeah. So something, it's not so common. I think we have to say that it's not so uncommon. I mean, the examples we've given are quite drastic. Like that one, I haven't heard anything, at least in my experience with my guru and his disciples, there hasn't anything like happened to that degree that happened with that particular devotee I was speaking about. So fortunately, it's not something you're going to hear about every day, but it can get to that degree. in one sense, it's not a surprise because considering how we have rebelled against Krishna for millions of lifetimes,
Hmm.
and we try to, perhaps some, to deny his existence and trying to act like we are him, yeah, in this material world. So we have become quite covered to do that, to try and act out being God in our own little way for billions of lifetimes. So such things shouldn't be so surprising.
But Prabhu, where is Lord says, my devotee will never perish. I will protect my devotee. So where does this comes there, Prabhu? Then, if you're doing a mistake, so Lord is not going to help the devotee.
Yeah, well, when it comes to offending the Vaishnava, and especially offending the Guru,
You can't do
that's really when you're uprooting your Bhakti Lada Bija.
it.
You know, you're really treading on thin ice. I mean, it's one thing if one makes mistakes, yeah, or one falls prey to energy, but if one is vindictively attacking those devotees who are very dear to the Lord's heart, then they cannot expect anything auspicious in that. They will become lost. Krishna has his, could I dare say, Krishna has his boundaries. And if someone goes that far,
He can't do anything.
yeah.
Can't do anything. Yeah. Okay.
Great. Let's get positive. Great. Let's
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sachari Mother, you like to begin reading this chapter 7?
Yeah, thank you. Chapter 7, Criticizing the Vedic Scriptures. All glories to Srila Gadadhar Pandit, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya, and to all the devotees of Lord Gauranga. The Vedas are the only evidence. Srila Haridas Thakur said, "My Lord, to criticize the Vedic literature and other literatures in pursuance of the Vedic version is a serious offense that denies a person the ecstasy of pure devotion. The Shruti Shastra, the Vedic literature, which includes the Upanishads, the Puranas, and other corollary scriptures, has emanated from the Supreme Lord's own lips. This literature establishes and proves the spiritual truth. It contains transcendental knowledge that is beyond the range of material senses, and this knowledge is understood by Lord Krishna's grace alone. The senses are capable of experiencing only material objects. Transcendence lies beyond their bounds. The science of Krishna consciousness is completely spiritual, hence it is transcendental. That knowledge of transcendence has been mercifully given by Lord Krishna in the Vedic literature for the ultimate benediction of humanity. The word Veda actually refers to the spiritual knowledge as it is received in the proper authorized disciplic succession or parampara. Human beings are born with 4 natural faults. They commit errors, they are subject to illusion, they have the propensity to cheat, and they have imperfect senses. Everything they do is tainted by these faults. Vedic literature is free from any mistakes or discrepancies. It is the only means to spiritual salvation. The transcendental Vedic knowledge was revealed by Lord Krishna and was afterward compiled by the sages. The sages received this knowledge in samadhi or in total spiritual absorption. 10 principal teachings of the Vedas. The Vedic literature equivocally teaches the rejection of both mundane, fruitive activities, karma, and empirical speculative knowledge, gnana, and concludes the cultivation of pure devotion offers all perfection. The Lord Himself has repeatedly taught this and has shown by His own example the way of pure devotion. In the Vedas, there are 10 principal instructions. The first is that the proof or basis of real knowledge is the Vedas, and the other 9 are ascertained from the Vedas as the teachings that destroy nescience and establish true spiritual knowledge.
Just pause there a second. Just pause there. Just like here, just highlight this here. Normally we hear knowledge is received through parampara. Yeah, but here it says the sages received this knowledge in samadhi or total spiritual absorption. So this is referring, I forget the names, but the original sages within the universal system, where they get, where, because the Vedas are eternal, it's an eternal sound, shabda, and by their tapasya and austerity and samadhi, their consciousness is able to perceive the Veda within the universe. And the Veda kind of downloads into their consciousness. You know, like we all know this word download now, you know. So by their purity, these are Pacific sages who, like Lord Brahma, they came from within his heart. Yeah. So this is, for example, Lord Brahma. Yeah. And other sages. So, you know, just thought I'd make that point. Yeah, can continue, Mother.
Yeah. The first three teachings pertain to Krishna. The first teachings explain that Hari, Krishna, is the only supreme absolute truth. The second, that he is omnipotent. All energies are self-contained within him. The third emphasizes that he is Rasamurti, the embodiment of spiritual mellows. He is the source of bliss for all living entities, and he eternally resides in his abode in the spiritual sky. These first three teachings pertain solely to the Supreme Lord Krishna. The second three teachings pertain to the jivas. The fourth principle discusses how the jivas are the Lord's separated parts and parcels. The jivas comprise the innumerable living entities, all infinitesimal spiritual sparks. Jivas are of two types, eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. They populate both the material planets and the spiritual planets. The fifth principle points out how the conditioned soul is enamored by the glitter of Maya's illusionary potency. He has forgotten Krishna and remains eternally bound in this phenomenal world, enjoying and suffering material existence. The sixth principle is that the eternally liberated jivas or Nityamuktas are eternal associates of Lord Krishna. They reside in the spiritual world and enjoy spiritual loving relationships. These three then are the teachings about the jivas found in the Shrutis. The seventh teaching, Achinta Beda Beda Tattva. Everything material and spiritual comes under Achinta Beda Beda Sambandha. Jiva and matter are both transformations of Lord Krishna's energy. This is inconceivable. Knowing Achinta Beda Beda Tattva, the Jiva understands that he is the servant of Krishna and is like the spark or ray of the spiritual sun, that is Krishna. Such transformations of the Lord's energy are inconceivable, says the Shruti. But the so-called transformations of the Supreme Lord himself that the Mayavadis would like to have everyone believe in are only mischievous and offensive postulation. So far, these 7 teachings comprise Sambandha Gnana, or the knowledge of the eternal relationship. The Vedas further point out Abhideya, or the easiest means to achieve that goal. Abhideya, the 9 limbs of devotional service. The 9 limbs of devotional service are hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, praying, rendering service, carrying out the orders of the Lord, being a friend of the Lord, and completely surrendering to the Lord. The chanting of the holy name is the most important devotional activity. The Vedas have volumes describing the glories of the holy name. The Prayojana, necessity in Krishna Prema. The Jiva must take shelter of the pure devotional process. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, he will attain Krishna Prema, or love of Godhead. Pure devotion is indicated by the human proclivity to always render favorable devotional service to Krishna. Pure devotion strives only for further excellence in devotion, being satisfied with nothing else. It is unencumbered by the desire of fruitive action or empirical knowledge. Pure devotion is uncontaminated by fruitive activity or empirical knowledge. The Vedas recommend that one can cultivate pure devotion by taking full shelter of the holy name. This is essential.
Okay, put some pause there. Just for your information, this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he's outlining, as it said, 10 principles of philosophy, or 10 principles of the Vedas. And there's one book, which I forget the title, which he elaborates further on this.
Is it Jaiva Dharma, Prabhu?
Not Jiva there. No, there's a book that is literally titled "The 10 Principles of the Good."
Bhakti Alok.
Yeah, Bhaktilok is it Bhaktilok? Okay, yeah, there. So this is a good breakdown of that if you're so inclined, like a study on our philosophy, then you could study these 10 points which Bhakti is giving. Yeah. So we have the first 3 teachings pertain to Krishna. So Krishna's ontological position, yeah, his omnipotence, etc., and his energies, a study of Krishna himself. Then Jiva Tattva, yeah, Jiva Tattva, and the study of the Jiva and his position in relationship to Krishna, the universe, yeah, the Jiva, the Shakti of Jiva, and the potency of Jiva. Bhakti writes about that. And it goes from 1, 3, 4, 5. Then this next one, the Chincha Beta Tattva. As you know, that's concluding. That's a concluding synopsis of philosophy, which Lord Chaitanya didn't. Or Lord Chaitanya, I mean, it's already there in Bhagavad Gita. It's there in the Vedas, but Lord Chaitanya brought that out as a principle of ultimate understanding. Yeah, rather than everything is different or everything is one, it's both. Isn't it? A chincha, be that simultaneously one and difference, and that's the fundamental part of our philosophy. And then we have Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smada, Padas, the actual practice of bhakti, that's Abhidheya, and then Prayoja. Yeah. So if you want to study the philosophy from that point of view, you can. There it is. Bhakti is, and he expands on this on the book called Bhakti Lokya. I mean, no matter.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
The first sentence of this criticizing the Vedic scriptures, I felt but
The next one to criticize the. Go on.
no, the first sentence says, "All glories to Srila Gadadhar Pandit." He's bringing up his connection with Srimati Radharani first, even
Okay. Yeah.
Gaur Gadadhar, that the connection.
Yeah, that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's worshipful
Worship.
deities. Deities. Yeah. Gold, Gadadhar. Yeah. You see that in other Gaudiya mats. Yeah. We worship Holy High. Yeah. Emphasizing the preaching. Yeah. Okay. So now let's so to criticize these teachings. Yeah. Also it mentions to criticize in the beginning other literatures that pursue the Vedic version. Prabhupada once said in regards to the Bible, it says we shouldn't unnecessarily criticize other religious scriptures. Yeah. We shouldn't unnecessarily criticize them. What do you say? None to criticize them. Yeah. Because ultimately we may have discussions on the principles, but we don't become blasphemous. We don't become blasphemous of, say, the Quran or the Bible or the Torah like that. We should have due respect, although we may have some issues with some of its conclusions. But we are respectful. Yeah. All right. Any questions before we go on? Okay, perhaps.
Prabhu, the Bible is if the Bible has been a lot of amendments or everything going on, so it is not about the Bible; it's about the people, isn't it, Prabhu?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, you could. Yeah, it's called interpolation.
Yeah.
Where things get added by certain scholars or certain religious followers in order to suit various purposes, or they may just innocently conclude that what was written before is wrong. Yeah, it's called interpolation.
Yeah, even the Bhagavad Gita, that's what Srila Prabhupada said. I want to present Bhagavad Gita as it is,
As
nothing.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
One of our scriptures that's highly apparently interpolated to the point of it's being very difficult to ascertain
This Bhagavad
what
Gita.
is the Mahabharata.
Oh, Mahabharata, yeah. But even
The
the
different
Bhagavad Gita,
stories in there, and the different stories in there often. Yeah, scholars have a great difficulty in ascertaining what is the original Mahabharata. We got the essence of the story, but the stories within the story, etc.
even the Bhagavad Gita, if not for Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I don't think
Yeah,
anybody would understand.
yeah. So Prabhupada deliberately titled it as it is. So what he's saying, everything else is useless. This is as it is.
Yeah.
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 I heard just recently, someone again, my Guru Maharaj, I heard recently how someone said at the manor there were some scholars who came for some event or something.
Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu.
Oh yeah, Buddha Bhavana, yeah, you heard, and he said, Your Holiness, or your Bhagavad, your by problems of your teachers, he seems to be indicating that his is the only Bhagavad Gita. And Maharaj said, he's not indicating, he's telling you factually that it is the only Bhagavad Gita. He's not implying, he's telling you. Anyway, let's read on to it. Perhaps no hands up. Perhaps I could have a little read.
Can I, Prabhu?
Shruti. Yes, go ahead, Nima Mata. Go ahead. We're on Shruti substantiates.
Uh, uh,
Do you have a copy? If not, it's here. I've just highlighted it.
yeah, I have a copy, but I can't find that.
If not,
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Sorry. To criticize the Vedic teachings is offensive. Shruti substantiates the non-ascertainable teachings, and the Guru, who is well versed in the scriptures, is able to reveal these truths. Anyone who criticizes the Shrutis commits a heinous crime.
heinous crime.
Oh, he's a sinner and an offender to the holy name. Jaimini, Kapila, Nagna, Nāstika, Sugata and Gautama are 6 philosophers who were stuck with the fangs of mundane logic and reasoning. They simply did some lip service to the teachings of the Vedas, but they did not accept God. Jaimini propagated that the best knowledge of the Vedas has to offer is the fruitive ritualistic proportion known as karmakanda. Kapila dared to state that God was imperfect. He accepted the process of yoga, but without understanding its deeper implications. Nagna spread poison by teaching a practice of tantra that is in the mode of ignorance. Charvaka Nāstika was an atheist who never accepted the authority of the Vedas, and Sugata, the Buddhist, imposed a different meaning upon them. Gautama propagated logic and did not worship the Supreme Lord.
Okay, so Bhagavad Thakur is going to get into quite some detail here, which is he is very expert at this as well. It's the history of the Veda within India. Yeah. So he's bringing up different darshans. So different darshan means those, or at least except Charvak, those who accept the Vedas, but the way they view it is in a godless way. Yeah. As we know, Bhagavad Gita 15:15, and the Vedas are ultimately pointing towards Krishna. So that's why I said they give lip service to the so-called teachings, but they don't accept the ultimate compiler of Veda, which is Krishna. So these are quite powerful sages, actually. They're not lightweight. Jaimini, if you read about Jaimini, they're very powerful sages. This is the atheist Kapila, not the Kapila that we have in Srimad Bhagavatam. This one here, I haven't heard of Nagna before. Nāstika, interesting name, was that means someone who rejects Vedas is called Nāstik. Perhaps he's the one who gave him that name. And Sugata, I haven't heard about Gautama. I'm sure some of you heard of Gautama.
Is it the Gautama Buddha?
No.
No, Gautama, the husband of Ahalya.
Oh, yeah.
So it's well known.
Yeah.
So they have some adherence of some adherence, or could we say some faith in Veda, but their interpretation of the Veda is, as Bhaktivinoda mentions, it's materialistic ultimately. And then Charvak, we all know Charvak. What's Charvak's philosophy? Prabhupada mentions in his books a few times.
Is that eat ghee, get ghee?
Yeah. Whatever it is in your life, get ghee. Because ghee can make nice fried foods, Now, because everything ends at death. So don't worry. You just make sure beg, borrow, or steal, but get ghee. In other words, enjoy your senses. That's Charvak. He's a Charvak Nāstik. The Nāstik means he's atheist, doesn't accept Vedas. So Charvak Muni. He was a Muni, but that was his conclusion. And Prabhupada mentions him a few times. He mentions that principle, as Labanga said. Whatever happens, just fry some samosas and eat samosas. That's the goal of life. Just, in other words, just enjoy your senses. All right? Yeah, so you can read on. So he's going to...
These mischievous interpretations are in fact offenses against the Vedas through sophism.
Can I just ask one question here? If I do this, can you see the dictionary come up?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Okay,
Yes, we can.
so perhaps I'll do this like when we come to words we probably don't know the meaning. So here's sophism. Yeah, a clever but false argument, especially one used deliberately to deceive. Okay, so there you go. Sophism, that's what that means,
Such philosophers speak half-truths that are likely to confuse the ordinary listener. An experienced Vedantist can easily detect their use, maybe? What's the word?
Ruse, that means, everyone knows what that means? Means it's a false thing, it's false, it's a cheat. We're going to get into the dictionary here today. An action intended to deceive someone, it's a trick. Yeah, a ruse.
It's a trick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Avoid doubling in such philosophical concepts because they are detrimental to spiritual growth. The Mayavadi philosophy is equally dangerous for it suppresses the natural devotional mode. Mayavadi philosophy is factually camouflaged Buddhism. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kali Yuga, the propagation of this philosophy, which is a perversion of the Vedic truth, has been authorized by the Supreme Lord. On the Lord's behest, Lord Shiva became its propagator, as Jaimini seemingly upheld Vedic authority, but practically propounded a warped version of the Vedic.
Warped. Everyone knows what warped is. We don't need that one. It means
it's warped. Okay, no.
It means it's bent. It means it's been misshaped. Yeah, it doesn't have its original form.
Thank you. With the conclusion, similarly, Mayavadi gurus give Vedic proof to establish their
covert. Covert means hidden, means disguised.
Thus, they obscure the essence of the Vedas, which is the science of devotional service.
Okay, so that we're familiar with we're well familiar with this position of Lord Shiva who came, and that's mentioned next to Shankaracharya. So yeah, in Kali Yuga, the propagation of this philosophy, which is a perversion of Vedic truth, has been authorized by the Supreme Lord, okay, to suit his deep, all-knowing purposes. Yeah, so these everything. Okay, if it wasn't authorized, nothing could happen. So it's out there in the world. Ultimately, Krishna is arranging it. Interestingly, Yeah, sorry, I keep cutting you off. You can continue. So I was going to mention
No, that's okay.
Mayavad philosophers now, materialist and Ayavad.
For
Yeah.
me, I really, it is very difficult to understand the Buddhism and throwing all the Vedas, and Buddha is nobody else, it's Lord only, like
Yeah,
Krishna.
that's a great. I think reminded us of that. Yeah, Buddha is none other than the Shakti Avesh incarnation of Krishna himself.
Hmm.
Yeah, to serve again the Lord's divine purposes.
Hmm. Can I read, Prabhu?
Yeah, you have some long names to read now.
Yeah. Astavakra, Dattatreya, Govinda, Gaudapada,
Not so long, not so difficult.
Oh my God,
Shankaracharya.
Sorry, and all of Sankara's materialistic philosopher followers are known as Mayavadi gurus. In Buddhism, the principal teaching is the non-existence of the soul. Buddhism does not admit the concept of Brahman. The theory of nothingness, the last word in Buddhism, is rendered by the Mayavadis into the concept of the formless, impersonal Brahman, which is so conceived by them in order not to be material. But these concepts are diametrically opposed to the eternal science of devotional service. In affiliation with such thoughts, automatically makes the jiva commit nama
Yeah.
prad. Some accept the Mayavadi philosophy but chant the holy name, but this is an offense against the name.
Yeah, I think we discussed it earlier here, isn't it, in the Harinam Chintamani. So you understand the difference between Buddhism and Mayavadi from this?
Yes, formless, yeah.
Yeah, so Mayavadi have a their ultimate conclusion is spiritual without distinction. Yeah. So everything ultimately is one in the sense of Brahman. And it's transcendent to that which is material. That which is material is all illusory, which we agree with in one sense. So that's Mayavadi, that there is no distinction ultimately. Yeah. But Buddhism have no for them, there is nothing, there is no Brahman even. It's called Sunyavadi. Yeah. Brahman, there's no concept that nothing, there's nothing exists. There is no Brahman, it's just how that works, I don't know. For them, yeah. You understand? So there's probably more differences, but that's one. So
Buddhists just say, because since I practiced Buddhism, but
oh,
I
yeah,
never felt about this they don't have a soul, because I don't know, Prabhu, for me, I always, because I remember they always talk about the reincarnation, and they say, okay, we take another body as per whatever we think at the last.
Bodhisattva. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also believe they know it. You have to have a good mood to leave the body. You have to think of Lord Buddha when you are leaving the body.
Yeah. There's
There's
lots of strains and colors and flavors of Buddhism. And some of it may have some type of devotional acts.
yeah, this is Theravada.
Yeah, or concepts of personalism to some degree. But
Hmm.
you're not going to be hard to find in their teachings this concept of nothingness, ultimately. Yeah. And it's just gone 6, so we better stop there. I've got to hop onto another Zoom thing.
Oh,
So thank you for being a nice discussion. Now we're getting into the Vedas a little bit and quite detailed, but it's interesting, isn't it, to read this and try and understand these points. And we'll continue with this. Let's just see. Yeah, only one more page on this. And what to do if you blaspheme the Vedic literatures. Yeah, there's how can you make an amends? All right. Okay. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Hare Krishna. So
Thank you, Prabhuji.
tomorrow's reading. Hare Krishna.